Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Primetime Gaming, where we will be going into the heaviness of what's been going on in the interwebs. And of course, the main event is going to be talking about the upcoming Game Awards, and I'm expecting the chat to be hot. We also will be talking about big topics that have caused basically the internet to catch fire. And in order to do this, I need a weekly panel of superstars to help me bring in this amazing content that the community looks forward to each and every week. And of course, I am grateful. So let's get right into the panel. But first, let me introduce our very special guest, who is known as the Grounded Gamer. He's also known as an old school cat like me. In fact, I would dare say that he's classically trained in the art of sticks and dots, because that's all we had back in the days. His opinions may not always be popular, but he's a truth speaker. He's also a part of the RDX panel each and every week with Dealer, and he's a diehard gamer through and through. Please welcome Jay Fonzarelli.
Hey, what's up, man? It's good to be here. Finally, we've been trying to get this going for the last couple of months, but I've got some time. So yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to get down with these topics, and thank you for that great introduction. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, well, listen, it's great to have you a part of today's show. This is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of big topics to get into, of course, the Game Awards being the main event, like I said earlier. Yeah. But let's get into our regular panel of superstars. Next, we have a gamer whose undying skills in Destiny have no match and no limit. He's our inside man to everything GameStop. He's an incredible father, husband, and one heck of a community member. Creator of the outstanding Gaming Forte YouTube channel and an integral part to the Basement Radio Arcade podcast. Please welcome Guardian Forte.
Yo, what is up? What is up, man? Haven't been on Twitter the last couple of days because everything blew up at work because of the holidays, and man, selling the. I didn't expect a lot of people to be still buying Xbox Ones and PS4s, but
of course,
with these $200 deals out there, man, they flying off the shelf. So yeah.
Well, listen, you can't beat down a good deal, and I can guarantee you the next couple of days, unfortunately, you're going to be busy as all heck. But let's get into our next panel member. He has taken a little bit of a hiatus off, but he's back and well enough to be behind the microphone. We have the Italian gamer who's one of the nicest and most skilled pirate legends on YouTube. He's a creator of the outstanding Four Guys with Quarter podcast. He is been gaming since the days of Pac-Man. I would consider him a community leader who helps everyone that needs it for no other reason than it's the right thing to do. Someone that not only is a diehard gamer like myself, but I also consider him a brother. Please welcome the Italian Clowns.
Hey, Boom. Thanks for having me, man. Pleasure being back.
Well, yes, it's great to have you back in your seats. And like I said, I'm glad that you're feeling a little bit better. I know you've been under the weather, but that's great to have you on, because we certainly did miss your gaming knowledge that you bring to each and every show. Next up, we have a gaming hero who has been patiently waiting for a new Batman game so he could once again save Gotham City. A newcomer to the podcast game with skills of a 20-year veteran, an Xbox enthusiast who bleeds green when you cut him, and the creator of his very own and quite honestly amazing mixer channel. Please welcome Cybernox.
Hey, what's going on, Boom? That's a great intro, as always. It's a short week here in the States. I can't wait to start talking game with you guys. What's up, chat? We got Fonz in the building. We got Clowns back. We got the whole crew together. Let's start talking some games, gentlemen.
Yes, well, thank you so much for being here, as always. And last, and in no way least, we have a Monster Hunter legend who says it's an MMO life for him. A gamer who will save the universe from the clutches of the profound darkness when Phantasy Star Online 2 releases for the Xbox in 2020. An Apex Legend assassin on the level of Agent 47, and an Overwatch player who understands that there's no I in team. Please welcome Tempest Sun.
What's up, Boom? As always, it's awesome to be here. I'm excited about the topics. I love the fact I'm on a podcast with Fonzarelli. He is legit one of the coolest dudes on YouTube. And I'm also extremely happy to have Clowns back. It's good to see you, buddy. And let's get into these topics.
Nice. Well, listen, with the very blatant and obvious favoritism for Kojima out in the open, can the gaming public trust Geoff Keighley or the Game Awards moving forward? Now, you might not like my answer. In a story that has many in the community screaming foul, Geoff Keighley's annual Game Awards is set for December 12th, 2019, and is under tremendous scrutiny. Now, the Game Awards is supposed to be about celebrating the hobby that we all love, and unfortunately, as of this show, it has been shrouded in doubt, corruption, and blatant favoritism for one developer. Now, as we all know, Geoff Keighley is the CEO, owner, and the host of the Game Awards. And in the last 2 years, the show itself has seemed to be built with Hideo Kojima at the center of its attention. The public friendship with Geoff and Kojima is only the start of the issue, and I have something to say about it. Now, the mere fact that Geoff Keighley is in the game, and we're talking about Death Stranding, is another problem that many in the community are struggling with. The running tagline is this: Geoff doesn't vote on the nominees. And I completely understand that. As a matter of fact, if you didn't know, I wrote something to Geoff, and it wasn't derogatory, it wasn't nasty. Quite frankly, it was rather professional. And he responded directly back to me, telling me that he doesn't vote, which I never talked about in the tweet to him originally. Now, there are reports that the date of being able to be considered has been changed to accommodate Death Stranding. Now, couldn't Death Stranding receive the same treatment that Super Smash Brothers did, Ultimate I'm talking about, that got put into this year's Game Awards nominees from last year? And, well, you know what? Let's bring in some evidence here why I think that's not the case. Simply because in 2020, if Death Stranding would have been held off like Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, it would have been up against Halo Infinite, Last of Us 2, and Cyberpunk 2077. And in my opinion, every one of those games, even though we don't know much about them, I believe would have handily sent Death Stranding packing. Now, you may agree with me, and you may not agree with me, and that's perfectly fine. But here is where I have a little bit of a problem, and this is where the corruption, if you will, comes into play. Now, Respawn's Star Wars Fallen Jedi Order was released on the last date of availability and was not allowed in. Okay, now, the way that the rules are set up, the way the FAQs say it, is that a title must be on or before the actual date, which the actual date was November 15th when this game came on. I think the game was snubbed, among other games being snubbed. And honestly, again, after putting nearly 50 hours into the game, almost 1,000 out of 1,000 achievements, I'm missing one for the hat trick. I can say honestly, it's probably one of my favorite games of the year. There's no doubt about it. But see, now this is where I'm going to get into the panel questions, because I actually wrote questions for each individual member, and you can just run and take it to town. So I want to start with our guest, and I want to start with Fonz. Now, after seeing how the Game Awards has become the Death Stranding Awards, Fonz, can the community ever trust Geoff Keighley to run a proper award show ever again?
That sounds like a loaded question to me, but I will definitely say that I've never expected anything different with this outcome, to be honest. I've been prepping people for months now, saying, look, no matter how good or how bad Death Stranding is, it will be nominated, and it will win Game of the Year. Mark my words, it's going to win. I think that, it's not just the Keighley factor there. It's always been the Kojima factor for me, because it may not necessarily be Keighley that is nominating this game, Death Stranding, but I think it's not to say his buddies, but everybody within the industry has a certain respect for Kojima. And I've been telling people that there's something called the Kojima factor.
Yes.
Anything this guy touches, anything he makes is coveted by so many people. It's like a cult that follow him around.
Yes, I know that cult attacked me publicly on Twitter for saying anything against him.
I've been attacked too. I was attacked in other languages on Twitter. From Kojima, nut jobs out there.
That's impressive.
Okay. I had some people retweeting some of my Kojima tweets. And look, I'm just stating the obvious, the truth. Kojima is held to a different standard than every other developer out there. Why? I really don't understand it. I think, look, I understand that the guy has brought in a cinematic, aspect to gaming and stuff. And he's brought that to gaming. He's somebody that's been in the industry for a long time. And I respect him for that. I do. I respect him for that. But what I don't respect Kojima for is incoherent, sloppy writing, and just games that just go on. And so much is added into his games, so much so that they just become convoluted. And his games don't make sense at the end of the day. Like, a lot of people will argue with me and say, well, they do make sense. It's about this or that. And they'll give me a general idea of what his game's about. And I'm like, yes, that's true. But if you dissect the game, you dissect his writing, his characters, and everything else, it's really nonsensical.
Yes.
But these guys don't want to hear me on that. I just think he tries to do too much in his games. If he would just dial it back a bit and stop being that, that egotistical guy that he is, I think he would make so much better games out there. I just think he needs to dial it back just a bit. But yeah, I think that we'll never see an award show that doesn't really hold him in this high regard. I mean, lots of guys. I mean, I saw it in the reviews for Death Stranding. We saw a lot of people giving 90 plus, scores, but yet in the review, they were really dogging on the game.
What about the one review that gave it 100 fonts that says Death Stranding is not a good game? Opening line.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah. And even before the game came out, there was people saying Death Stranding is the best game I've never played yet. And, that already set it up for me months ago. That's why I told people Kojima factor, he's always going to be nominated. Will he win? This time, yes, he will win. We're in a year in 2019 where there wasn't really a lot of strong competition per se, and not in the way of masterpieces. Like, we just came out of a year last year in 2018 where we had some good masterpiece level gaming. Yeah. This year, there's some great games, solid games. I think Jedi, not nominating Jedi was downright criminal in my opinion, because as you stated, the rules state on or before the 15th.
Yeah.
Well, it released on the 15th. It should be there, but it's not. And they're saying, well, not everybody got to play it. I'm sorry, but 95% of the reviews were out on the 15th as well.
That is correct. Yes.
Give me that again. It makes no sense. I don't understand it. I'm not saying there should be a big investigation opened up into this, but I think people need to just relax, not get too upset over the gaming awards, because they are what they are. And it's always been kind of this way with Geoff Kieghey and company, but with Kojima especially. But look, I'm gonna watch the awards and for the entertainment value, the premieres, the trailers, all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, they're not the be all and end all. They're really not. I mean, we all have our own personal game of the years and stuff, and mine is Jedi Fallen Order. So,
well, I mean, listen, there's you can, like the one thing that I have to say that has me perplexed, much like yourself, Fonz, is that when, it is our right as a human being, right, to question something that we don't feel is right. And, it seems as if this cult of Kojima, and I got to be honest with you, the cult of Kojima, that's actually a thing, folks. If you think I'm lying, go look at my timeline. If you thought that some of the negative Sony fans, that like the toxic community was bad, you should have seen some of the comments that I was getting. And and here's the thing, like I'm very transparent. Everyone knows what I did in my prior career. I actually had people questioning what I did in my career, which of course I wouldn't respond, because I had an amazing 21-year career and the community loved me. I mean, they called me officer friendly, for Christ's sake. So I mean, I obviously did something right. But obviously, when you put yourself out there, you're going to get it, and I expected it. but it's a shame that when you see a game of the quality of Jedi Fallen Order, which we're not going to get, we're not going to go into like a full on thing about Jedi Fallen Order. We're talking about the game award
nominations. Yeah.
But Franz brings up a great point, and I wanted to make sure that I brought that point up as well, that, it came out on the 15th, and the rules, if you're curious and you want to see the FAQs, just go to the Game Awards, type in Game Awards FAQs, and all of the supposed information is there. And it clearly states that on or before the date. Now, they don't have the specific date because the date was changed. Now, obviously, some people have reported that the date was changed to accommodate Death Stranding. And, no one's really been talking about that. And I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but people have been reporting on that. And if that, in fact, is the case, well, then you can see where this thing was going. Because, like I said, what could have happened easily is it could have been held off until next year, along with Jedi Fallen Order. But because Kojima's game may not have stood a chance against these three behemoths coming out next year. And I don't know for sure. Halo could be terrible. Cyberpunk could be terrible. Last of Us 2 could be terrible. That's highly unlikely. But
highly unlikely.
Yeah, and boom, I want to go a step further and say, I don't know if everybody heard this, but I've also read on Twitter where Geoff Kieghey, in the same thread he's been talking in, there's other people that were saying that, unfortunately, for Jedi Fallen Order, it cannot even be nominated for next year because it was it was released on the date available for this year.
What a crime! That's a crime against humanity.
So they did that to a game that they know was released in time, yet they snubbed it, and they can't even put it on next year's nominations.
It is. I didn't even know that, Fawn. So first of all, thanks for bringing that information forward, because that just adds to the dumpster fire that is the Game Awards. This is more gasoline. And like I said, if you are a part of the Kojima cult and you don't like it, well, I can give you advice. You can hang out and enjoy the show. Hit the thumbs down button. If you get rude, I'm going to bounce you, or someone one of my mods is going to be. You want to enjoy, if you're part of the cult of Kojima and you just want to hear some good talk, hang out, chill, and I guarantee you're gonna walk away happy. But don't be an a-hole, because unfortunately we don't stand for that on this program. But Fonz, that's a really interesting point that I as much as I've been trying to cover it, you get physically beat down. You know what I'm saying? By trying to to keep up with all of this stuff, and I somehow missed that. That was actually pretty important, to be honest.
It was eye-opening to me.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame because if you have not played Jedi Fallen Order, I'm going to say Black Friday is this week, folks. And I'm sure there's going to be a price drop. My God, it's probably going to be one of the best games that you either haven't played or will play in 2019. It's by far the best Star Wars game in the past 10 years.
It really
hands
is.
down.
A lot of bundles out there with Jedi Fallen Order too.
There's Xbox One X bundles too, for $350. I saw it was. So yeah, sort of shop around.
No, it absolutely, no doubt about it. So I want to move on to the next question, and I want to go to Clowns on this one. And it's a beefy question, Clowns. I think that because of your chops, your podcasting chops, you could handle it. With big YouTube content creators like Rich Review Tech USA, and now mainstream media outlets like Kotaku reporting that there seems to be, quote unquote, something wrong with Keighley's close relationship to Kojima and Death Stranding's 8+ nominations, does change need to happen at the Game Awards?
Absolutely. It's like a quid pro quo over there. You know what I mean? I don't like Kojima. I'm going to be honest and upfront. I was never a Kojima fan. I don't like Kojima. I think he's narcissistic. I think he's egotistical. I think that everything he thinks he touches is gold, and it's really not. And everybody in the industry just views him as this innovator, like an Andy Warhol in painting for some reason. I don't understand it. I don't know why Jedi got snubbed. If what Fonz revealed to us tonight is accurate, that really upsets me and bothers me. And I think if there's anybody that can do anything about this or have an investigation or something like this, it would be Disney. They have the clout, right? Jedi Fallen Order was done with their consent. They could pull advertisement. They could put pressure on advertisement. They could put pressure on executives. They got the money. They're already pulling, GIFs, as some people like to say, or GIFs of Baby Yoda. So why not do that, something like that, to the Game Awards with advertisements? That's how I feel, Boom, and I'm being completely honest about it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I agree. I agree with you. I think that if remember at the end of the day, this is it's gaming for us. Like we're on the outside looking in, and we're looking at from a consumer point of view. So it is about gaming, and but at the end of the day, it is a business. And if Star Wars, or more specifically Disney, felt like there was something going on here, they could essentially pull funding. They could pull advertising. They could really put the pressure on Geoff, because quite frankly, his founders board is packed with a lot of folks. And we're talking, Phil Spencer's a part of that. Bobby Kotick from Activision is a part of that. Bowser from Nintendo, someone from Sony, Kojima himself is on this founders board, which I find to be a little strange. But to continue the question, Clowns, what exactly do you think needs to happen, considering that Geoff Keighley is the CEO, he's the owner, he is the host, and his best friend's game is up for 9 nominations?
Well, there's a lot here that we don't know for sure what went on behind the scenes that really upsets me. As was alluded to earlier, that Kojima is a founder on the Game Awards, so I hope he didn't get the vote on his own game. I think Geoff Keighley needs to recuse himself anytime there's any of his favorite games or favorite developers or best friends, whatever he wants to call them, being listed on his award show. He should recuse himself from being the host or any type of vote. And the second question is, how cozy is he with these reviewers that get to do 90% of the vote in all these outsourced reviewers or magazines or bloggers, whatever he wants to call them? So an investigation needs to happen, but it won't happen unless there's pressure from an outside source that has financial power over the Game Awards. Somebody that can pull that kind of plug and pull financing would stop some of these power plays that goes on within the industry over there at the Game Awards. That's the only way to do it.
Well, I mean, listen, it's going to be interesting to see exactly what happens. I mean, obviously, we're all talking as if Death Stranding has won all 9 nominations, and we're not going to know until the end of December 12th.
Almost.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably gonna walk away with at least maybe 6 of the 9, maybe 7 of the 9. It wouldn't surprise me.
I'm with Fonz in this. Like, I in my head, I think I know that Death Stranding is going to win Game of the Year, but I just don't think it should. I don't see anything exciting about walking on rocks, balancing yourself, randomly peeing, carrying boxes. I mean, Paperboy
shit bombs.
Yeah. Paperboy had more skill in this game. If he would have gave the guy a bicycle and something actually throw around, deliver, and maneuver, okay, it has a little bit of skill then, right? But tripping over rocks and just peeing randomly, who thinks of this stuff? And it's not that great.
Yeah, I mean, graphically it looks gorgeous, and it's what you would expect from a Sony first-party game, right? I mean, or like exclusive. Like, it has what you would expect, and apparently the story. My brother's ready to beat it, and he told me in so many words that this game is in no way, shape, or form worthy of Game of the Year. And he said, I'm racing to beat it so I can sell it for maximum money. That was his exact quote to me. I got to be honest with you. We talked, Fonz, and I'll just bring it back to you for a second. How Geoff should have handled this. And this is how I would have handled it. I think that because you and I have a very, 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 very streamlined way of thinking, you would have probably handled this the same way. If I would have been approached by Kojima and we were good friends, and he would have said, hey, listen, you've done so much for me and I really appreciate it. I want to immortalize you in gaming. I want to put you in Death Stranding. My first response would have been like, listen, Hideo, I appreciate it, but I've worked really hard all these years to legitimize gaming, the hobby that we all know and love, and to make these game awards as special as possible. And I think it would be a tremendous conflict of interest if I was in your game. I'm going to have to decline. Now, Fonz, is that something that sounds the correct way to have handled this?
I would have said put me in that game then. Hey, I'm just being honest, but at the end of the day, now really, if it had something to do with Geoff being able to nominate, if he really doesn't nominate, I can't really see an issue there. But my issue moreover is not really just about Death Stranding, but there's so many other games that I think should have been nominated, and we can all argue on which those should be and whatnot. We all have our own personal taste.
Right. I think the list would be different for every one of us.
But if you look at the majority of the people out there, like I myself never heard anybody beat Control and say, hey, that's my game of the year.
No.
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear nobody say that.
8 nominations, by the way.
8 nominations.
Yeah.
I heard tons of people, including my teenage son, that played Fire Emblem 3 Houses and said, that's my game of the year.
Yeah.
That game is fire. No, but anyway, and that's not nominated. And like, to me, it's just weird. Like, who chose these games and what was the criteria? Like all that, like what's going on here? Because obviously it wasn't Metacritic that chose these games.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Most of these games scored in the low 80s.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, boom.
Well, if it does win Game of the Year, it's gonna be the lowest Metacritic game to ever win at an 83. The last one that did that was an 85, and that was Dragon Age Inquisition. And before that, it was nothing short of a 90 has ever won the VGAs, even when they were the Spike Awards.
And I've seen people on Twitter say Control deserves a nomination, but it doesn't deserve to win. And I'm like, what does that mean?
That doesn't even make any sense.
I say, if a game doesn't deserve to win, it doesn't deserve to
be nominated. Yeah.
Right.
That's a great point, Fonz. Excellent point. Real quick, I just have to do a couple of shout outs here before I get to the next panel member with the question, because I have a couple of super chats. First of all, Weapon X with the outstanding $2 super chat. He says, imagine Phil ran the VGAs and Gears got 10 nominations. Yeah, the world would be on fire. That's exactly what would happen, dude. The world would catch fire. JD Gamer drops an outstanding $5 super chat. He says, don't forget that we as a community have power. We don't have to give Geoff the one thing he needs for the VGAs to be successful, and that's viewership. Yeah, I'm probably going to watch like the trailers afterwards. I don't know if I'm even going to bother watching it. JD Gamer drops an additional $2 super chat. He says, if we stop watching, advertising dries up. That's true. And Sufsonic X Initiatives drops a $2 super chat. He says there should be 10 spots for Game of the Year. I agree there definitely should be more spots. And JD Gamer drops an additional $2 super chat. And he says, bottom line, if we do nothing, nothing changes. And that's actually a great point. But I want to move on to Gaming Forte with the next question. And I really want to, I really want you to kind of dig your heels into this one. At the end of the day, Forte, do you think that with all of this very dark, shrouded controversy behind the Game Awards, will the Game Awards itself be irrelevant moving forward? And has the backlash of Kojima Gate ruined the credibility of the show that Geoff himself has worked so hard to get?
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, the biggest thing, he has worked really, really hard over the last 5 years to put this show where it is now. It's starting to it really last year and even the year before that started really hitting its stride and being a legitimate award show. And that is a lot of credit to him. As bad as this looks, and I will say it looks bad, I think some people, I'm not saying everybody is wrong, but I think some people are kind of taking it a little way too far when it comes to, because unfortunately, yes, it's not like we just found out that the guy is best friends with Kojima. Yeah. We've known this for a long time before even, a lot of this, and a lot of the sympathy, I think, for Kojima has come out over the whole way that that Konami was treating him throughout the years. And one year he wasn't even able to come to the Game Awards to accept the award just because of that. And Geoff Keighley made sure he said that on stage.
Yes, he was actually crying on stage, if I recall
he actually
correctly.
said it on stage. So is the only reason this looks bad is just because, like you said, he's in the game. He runs the show. He's the CEO of the show. The game has nine nominations, which is crazy. But ultimately, does the game deserve to be nominated? I think the game is the most boringest piece of thing I've ever seen in my life. But guess what? I will tell you, there has not been a more polarizing game this generation than this.
I
game.
would agree on that. Yes.
But let me ask you something though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's the thing. Have you not heard a lot of people out there? Because I've been told by several people that are in the PlayStation community that the game is amazing, but the gameplay isn't very good. And I'm like, what? And they're like, no, the story and everything, it's really good. You just can't wait to see that next cutscene and everything, for the story and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but the gameplay, well, the gameplay's so. And it's like, so it's nominated for Game of the Year? Gameplay is king when it comes to, games, video games.
Right.
And if your gameplay is not on point, why are you, and a lot of the reviewers reflected that. Why is it, Game of the Year? And why did it get so many 90s and 100s when even some of those reviews said the gameplay wasn't very good? Yeah. It's crazy to me.
No, and you're absolutely right. And I made a video on that like a year ago talking about gameplay over graphics.
Oh, for sure.
Graphics is that eye candy that they put on TV to make you want to say ooh and ah.
And buy the game.
And buy the game. It's like Transformer trailers. Transformer trailers are meant to make you want to go out and go and see the movie. That's why they always do really, really well every time they come out, even though they have no substance and no brain ever since the first two of them. But that's what that is. It's the graphics and just the overall polish of what they're showing is what sells the game, but the gameplay is what makes you remember the game. And for this, all I remember is walking around trying to balance myself, which you can't even just walk around in the game and just play it and just like kind of just take it easy. You actually got to pay attention to every little nuance when you're doing it, or you'll tip over and drop every freaking thing. But you know what? The biggest thing is for me, I think that the Game Awards will be relevant just because this isn't going to kill it. Because ultimately, even if this game does win, which I think it shouldn't, it's going to win because of the groundswell support, more of the sympathy vote. I don't really think people think about it like this. The man has went through a lot of stuff over the last couple of years, like it or not, with the whole leaving Konami and leaving Metal Gear Solid behind and working on this game and all the different interviews he's done and stuff. There's been like this big life change with Kojima, some for the best, some for the worst, because we can all definitely tell by the way he's talking to people in the community and just conducting himself in these interviews and stuff and the things that he says. But we can't take away the fact that the man did try to do something different that just didn't speak to a lot of people. And honestly, that's the main reason why this game is where it is right now, because it's a very vocal amount of people that think this game is amazing, but it could do things better. But then you have the opposite sides. Like, I'm not even going to touch this game with a fishing rod because I just don't even understand what this game is even about. And that's the biggest thing. But the one thing that I will say, the whole Star Wars thing, that's the one thing that pisses me off about the whole thing, because I'm a huge Wars nerd. I'm a nerd. Had my tickets day one when they first started putting them on sale. I already beat Fallen Jedi Order. It was amazing. I put 33 hours into that game. I'm going through it again right now on Grandmaster Jedi, and it's freaking incredible. And the fact that this game has got snubbed out of this Game Awards is criminal. And if what Fonz said about it not being able to go for next year, that's even worse.
It's basically in the Bermuda Triangles.
I'll send you guys that tweet where I read that, and it was from one of the reviewers, the professional reviewers.
Yeah,
that'd be crazy.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, and the one thing, and the reason I say that one thing about it is because I'm a huge. Me personally, we haven't had a strong year for games like that. Fire Emblem is one game I really truly believe should be in it, and I would vote for that game for Game of the Year if it was in this category. But since it's not, the one game that nobody can say in this category without fail that should be considered Game of the Year is Smash Brothers. Because since last year, nobody can tell me Smash Brothers hasn't been a great game. Everybody that's played it loves it, and that's the one game of all these games in the category that has really no faults to it. And that game got snubbed last year because it came out on the day of the Game Awards last year, which was December 6th, because I was at work selling Smash Brothers, watching this show when they announced the new DLC characters at the Game Awards, which was the thing that they ended the show with, which drove all the Nintendo fans crazy. So the fact that that game is in there, I feel like that is the one game that should win. I think Control is a joke for being in there. Not saying it was a bad game, but I can think of 5 other games that could have been in there. As much as Gears of War, for some people, don't like the microtransactions and stuff like that, Gears of War is still a really good game, and it deserved to at least have some type of mention in this category above some of these other games. But I digress on that. And the simple fact that, like I said, Star Wars is the big one for me, because that game would have won probably Game of the Year if it was included.
I agree. I think Fonz agrees with that also.
And honestly, that's the one thing I take away. And then when it comes to what should change, and I'll just touch on that, I don't think they can really change anything, but the one thing I think they should change is the community split versus the vote.
Oh, yeah, 10%.
That right there, if he was to say, hey, I understand that Kojima has a game that's going to be in this and he's going to be in the running for this, at least give the community a bigger piece than 10%, maybe 30%, 40%. We're not saying 50-50 split. But you should, I mean, just like they did with The Voice, and they do with American Idol and stuff, and they have the community vote on the screen so you can see what the community is voting. This is a community event. That's what Geoff Keighley built it on, but you're only giving the community 10% of the vote, which is what I have the biggest problem with. So if he changes anything, it needs to be that aspect of the Game Awards going forward.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. That's going to lead me into my next question. I want to get to Cybernox on this, but before I do, Cyber, I got to thank Enrique from
Lord Chancleta.
Yes, Lord Chancleta from Basement Radio Arcade Podcast.
My boss.
It's he drops not one but 2 $5 super chats. The first comment is: Metacritic doesn't matter, some say, but now it matters when it involves the Game Awards. Also, this chat is going so quick. Also, Kojima never told Geoff he was going to be in Death Stranding. Yes, I've heard that story as well. And his second one, he says, playing Death Stranding, unlike Forte, Death Stranding for me bucks the usual tropes we see. It's such a refreshing experience for him, and it has its hooks in me. It surprised me. You know what, dude? Listen, that's the great thing about gaming, Enrique. You just never know when something is going to grab, get its hooks into you, and you just can't stop playing it. So I'm glad that you're actually enjoying it. And you know what? I can't argue with that. But my question is for you, Cyber, is this. The one thing about the 90-10 split that kind of bothers me a bit is very simple. When you talk about 90%, who is this 90%? Well, this 90% are the 80 jury people that are part of this jury that are international. I don't know how many here in the States, but a lot of it is in Japan, a lot of it's in Europe, and I'm sure they have people here in the States. I mean, it makes only sense. And these 80 folks vote on it in their different outlets. They have different I believe Greg Miller's show is one of them. I believe IGN may have 1 or 2 in there. It varies.
Oh, yeah.
But you see, my problem with the 90% isn't for actually who's voting. I can actually give a shit, to be honest with you. But the problem is that these folks, these 90%, they don't pay for these effing games. Okay? They play the games, they review the games, they write about the games, and that's it. Whereas the 10%, which is the common folk, which is everyone that's in the chat here and everyone on this panel. We're the common folk. We pay for these games, and we are the consumer that continues to make this business get bigger and bigger each year. In my personal opinion, I think that we as the consumer base deserve us certainly more than 10%. What is your thought on that?
Oh, that's 100% boom. And I'll go let me read you a quote. This is from Kieghey from Game Reviews. He goes, 9 out of 10 judges will vote for Death Stranding to win Game of the Year. 9 out of the 10 won't be able to tell you why they did.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
This game, I agree. I 100% agree with you and Forte. This 90-10 split, it's crazy. The split should be like higher. It should be 70-30, even 65-35, something like that. 60-40, whatever you want. Kind of like Forte alluded to. This was built. The Game Awards was built for the community. Was built on the backs of the community here. You know, Geoff has a lot to do with that. I give him a lot of credit. He did stick around with this game show for a long time, and he made it to what it is today, one of the biggest shows of the year. But for this Stranding to be nominated for so many awards and him being in the game, there is something there that you kind of look at it and you kind of just take a step back. You know, all of Kojima's games have been consistently nominated for multiple awards, but none have been this controversial. None of these games have been this divisive among the community. Just look, if you look at Metacritic, the critic reviewers say one thing, and then if you go to the user reviews, it says something
The user reviews are
different,
low.
super low,
Yeah.
completely different. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they could have done here. You know, like I said, Kojima games have always been nominated, but none of them have been this divisive among the community itself. But I don't know, man. If this game wins Game of the Year, I'll lose some faith in that show for sure. Like, in these 80 journalists, the jury here, a lot of people try to counter you with, oh, but Phil Spencer is on the jury.
No,
So
he's not. He's actually part of the founders board.
oh, he found out founders board.
He's part of the founders board that put this show together, that fund this show.
Okay.
Kojima is a part of that board. These guys, they don't actually vote. They do meet up, and I'm not sure if they actually are the ones that pick from this. I'm not sure. Again, it's still a bit of a mystery, and I haven't heard anyone actually talk about who picks these 80 jury members.
Right.
I don't know if it's the founders board, if it's Geoff, it's a combination. I don't actually know.
Yeah, but once you get into, you know, those 80 journalists, it's if you look at what if you read the verbiage on most of these reviews, they all say the same thing. This game is sluggish, it's not fun, but there's something here, it's that, and then they give it such a high score. Right? If you were
look at one of in the beginning, dude. One of the journalists said in the opening line of his review, Death Stranding is not a fun game.
Right.
100. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm confused.
So, you know, majority unfortunately will probably rule among those votes, and for the community, which is such a large community, to only have 10%, it's kind of crazy to me. I don't understand that at all.
You know, you add something to that. Something that I think they could do, and they're all about, you know, maximizing the dollars and just making the show as big as it could possibly be. The one thing that I really truly love about in TV is when the NCAA does their selection show. Why can't we see something like when this is actually being selected? Like, instead of it just being in a news outlet or a news burp that lets you know what games have been announced to be in the awards, how don't you do like a 20-30 minute segment of a show and announce and show those and them actually voting and showing what games are actually getting announced? Because that would actually get gamers super excited. They can also be part of that voting process. Instead of it just being the 10% you get to vote on Game of the Year, you can actually vote. The community can vote on what games they think should even be in that category. And you don't even have to do it for every category. Just do it for Game of the Year. And then the community will have some type of a vote on what games actually get nominated into that, on top of the vote that they normally do on the outside, but it's public for everybody to see. I think that would be another good thing they can actually do to change it up in the future.
Yeah, I just don't understand how this game here, like this game got nominated more than I think God of War, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it did. And
Come
God of War,
on,
I'm sorry
like,
to say,
what are you doing? Like,
a
infinitely
way
better
better
than
come
Death
on.
Stranding. Sorry.
And you just watched that game, and I full disclosure, I haven't played the game yet, but like from what I've seen, it's just like, wow, like all you're doing, and most of what you're doing is you're just walking. I understand, like it's a beautiful world, but man, gameplay trumps freaking graphics any day in my book. So I don't know, man. If this game wins, there's gonna be a lot, and kind of like what Forte said, and everybody's here, I'm sure agrees. The thing that's probably hurting a lot of people the most is that Jedi Fallen Order is not gonna get no recognition
It's crazy.
whatsoever. You know, so
If what Fon said is like I said comes to fruition, it is going to be the biggest crime in the history of gaming as we know it. That it comes out on the day that you're allowed to be included. They say nay, and because it came out on that day, it doesn't get accepted for next year. It's a farce. I'm sorry, but listen. Let me just before I get to Tempest Sun, let me just say thank you to two people. First of all, Pixel Bit G with the very generous $2 super chat. He said, I played Death Stranding and put it down for Jedi. It's no game of the year. And Basement Radio Arcade Podcast, and this guy's got some deep pockets. Thank you, Enrique, for being so generous, and of course for being here. He says fans can vote for winners in the golden joysticks. Yes, that is actually correct as well. But here is my question to you, Tempest. Now, in the world of entertainment, there has been a tactic that has been used by actors, actresses, musicians, and artists to push a favorable nomination and or vote a certain way. It's called lobbying. And with all of the controversy surrounding the 8+ nominations, my question to you is this. Could this have happened with the jury of 80 that are used for the Game Awards?
It's funny you asked me that exact question, because where I was going to take this is the fact that the video game industry makes more money than the movie industry, straight up. It's
Yes,
just
it does.
It makes more money. At this point, it's more lucrative. And I don't know why, but Geoff Keighley, the Game Awards, and especially like Hideo Kojima himself, they seem to want the influence of Hollywood to legitimize gaming for some stupid reason. Like, if you look at just the cast of Death Stranding itself, I mean, you got Mads Mikkelsen, Guillermo del Toro, Norman Reedus as the main character. It's like, it almost makes sense for Keighley to want to push this, because that's what they want to do. They look for these big stars. I mean, everybody got excited. I mean, the biggest part of this year's E3 was, oh God, I can't believe forget his name. John Wick. What the heck? Keanu Reeves. So everybody loves that stuff. But like, what really ticks me off, and my personal point, is if you look at like the best actor, the best performance, that category, I feel like the best performance out of what I've seen, at least what I've played, would be Laura Bailey. I think she did a phenomenal job as Kate Diaz. Phenomenal. There is no chance in hell she is winning that. It's going to go to Mads Mikkelsen or Norman Reedus.
Well,
There's
they have
98%
two nominations
chance.
in the same category. So yeah, sure. I mean, the deck is unfortunately stacked.
Yeah, there's no way she's going to win, and I feel like she deserves to. So you got categories like that, or just like it's almost such a no-brainer that it's stupid, to be honest with you. The fact that it's nominated for Game of the Year, I don't even know what to say about it. I haven't played it. I have no desire to play it. I mean, I don't know if you could pay me money to play it. I'll be honest, completely honest with you. I don't think you could, unless it was a lot of money. Then I might play it. But there's like Control. I bought and I played Control. I'm sorry, this is just my opinion, but Control should not be anywhere in the Game of the Year nomination. Just for technical difficulties alone, that game does not deserve to be nominated, straight up. So Death Stranding, I don't know. I almost can't even realistically cast my vote because I didn't play it myself, but I did play Control. That does not deserve to be up there. There's just so many things about this show that are just, they feel wrong. I mean, and it's been going on for a long, long time. Like back when Overwatch won. Overwatch win. When they won. Yeah, I'm a Overwatch fan. I enjoy it. I used to really love it, but that had no right winning. I don't think there was nothing game worthy about it. I mean, it did a lot of look good, things really well, but it was like a master at none, to be honest with you. And so the fact that it won, when I saw that it won, I was just like, oh, well, that's pandering, to Blizzard, one of the biggest game developers of all time. It's a Blizzard game, so I guess we're just going to give the award to you this year. That's the way I felt, So their choices, I mean, multiple people have said it, the 10%, it's like, why even vote? It's 10%. Almost no matter what way you vote, it's not going to sway the final decision anyways. So I don't know. The whole thing's a mess. I kind of don't put much stock into these things each year anyways, because I'm not going to call it political, but like I was saying about the influence of like Hollywood, for example, for a fact, it's going to draw in a lot of fans and a lot of people of these stars, Norman Reedus. Why would you not bring him up on stage and give him the best performance or the Game of the Year award? Why would you not do that if you're Kieghey? So I think there's a lot of bull crap involved. I don't really know if any of these shows, these award shows, are ever going to be legit unless it is 100% fan voting. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's a mess to me. I plan on not watching it. I'll look at the trailers that they release. That's the one thing I did watch the show for, was the trailers, but they post them on YouTube about 10 seconds after they go live anyways. So that's what I'll be doing.
You know what? I'll say one more thing, Boom. Another game that got the short end of the stick here was Gear 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Gears 5 is phenomenal. Phenomenal. I played all the Gears back to back to back to back before I played Gears 5 because I wanted to recall all the story, everything that happened. I wanted to have fresh in my mind before I went to Gears 5. And it should have at least been nominated. I can't believe Gears 5 is so good, especially I love the campaign. I can't believe that game didn't get nominated, at least. I'm not saying it should have won. It could have won, honestly. It could have won. I think the story was very good. The gameplay is better. Introduce new gameplay, introduce new levels of elements to that. Like it did a semi-open world. It was so different than the other games, but and yet still kept that hardcore Gears feel, in my opinion, that it should have been nominated. It had, especially this year. I forgot who said. I think it might have been Forte. It was one of the weaker years for Game of the Year nominations. I think Gears could, at least if it was nominated, I think it could have taken it. But
I mean,
we'll never know.
It's a game that continues to give back. But listen, we're not going to get into the weeds about that. Listen, the nominations are the nominations. It's very. At the end of the day, it seems as if for the third year in a row, the Game Awards are being centered around one developer when there are thousands of them in the industry. And it seems almost insulting and hypocritical, if you will, to want to put this guy on the pedestal that he's currently standing on and make one even higher. I'm not saying he's not talented. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. As a matter of fact, Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation is in my top 5 of games of all time. I absolutely loved it. And as a matter of fact, I quite enjoyed Metal Gear Solid 5 when a lot of people shit all over that game. And I put my 50 plus, maybe 60 hours into that game and loved every minute of it. Maybe I'm a weirdo. I don't know, but I enjoyed it. But listen, it is what it is. What I want to do is I want to move on to the next topic because we are closing in on an hour, and I expected this one to be a long one. But before we do, I have to thank Rain G4 with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says Death Stranding is Amazon's new delivery apps simulation to train their workers. That's actually a good one, dude. That caught me off guard. I didn't read. I should have read it first because I laughed on the air, and that was a little unprofessional, but that was really funny. But let's move on to the next topic. Now, as you may or may not know, I would consider myself a Resident Evil freak master. I own every Biohazard ever released in Japan in my collection. I've beaten every Resident Evil game, even the first-person shooter games that were on the freaking PlayStation 2 that were imported from Japan. I have in my collection the Sega Saturn version of Resident Evil. It is extremely rare. And I'm very excited to talk about this next story. Now, Resident Evil 2 released this year. I mean, obviously, I voted for it for Game of the Year and the awards, and of course, I voted because I mean, listen, I want to pick a game that's going to win that I like, so I voted for that. That's the only nomination that's the only category I voted because the other ones I just didn't want to be bothered. But Resident Evil is an important series for me personally. And when I saw this story pop up, I had to make it a part of tonight's show. Now, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is a game that I hold side by side with Resident Evil 298. It's probably it's those two. If I had to pick one, it'd be Resident 298 as my favorite game of all time, followed by, and I'm talking about a razor hair second in Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. I love the Nemesis character. I think the fact that he chases you through the entire game and you just never know when he's going to bust through a wall or shoot a rocket at you, it really had you on the edge of your seat. Well, the rumor that I found that I was trolling the internet for stories for tonight's show, apparently Resident Evil 3 Nemesis remake is rumored to be out next year, and if Capcom follows the patterns of Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3, the remake, should hit in the first quarter of 2020. Now, the new report is being brought to us by WCCF Tech, who had this to say. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is, in fact, in development and will be released next year, according to new rumors. YouTuber Spawnwave, who previously leaked From Software's collaboration with George R.R. Martin on Elden Ring, was the first to report this. Video Game Chronicles has since corroborated this report, though and it seems like it's all adding up to being true. Now, obviously, like I said earlier, if you follow me for a long time, you know I'm a big fan. Well, we've heard this for quite some time, that Resident Evil 3 was possibly in active development, and this new report, if it's anything to go on, then I'm expecting maybe a February or March release of course, Resident Evil 3 Remake, which I will be floored. It's so excited to play. I beat Resident 2, the remake, this year 4 times. I have everything unlocked you can imagine, and I want to run through it again. It was one of my favorite games of this year. But let me just say this, with the success of Resident 2, the remake, it appears that Capcom is pushing for many of their older titles in this direction. And we've heard for a while that Dino Crisis could possibly be coming. We've heard what's that?
Nothing. I said I hope that.
So Dino Crisis is supposedly in the remake is in the works. An Onimusha remake would be absolutely fantastic. If you remember, earlier this year they released the HD version of Onimusha, the original one, which I bought, beat, and absolutely loved as much as I did back in the days on the PlayStation 1, or I think it was the PlayStation 2 it might have come out on. Okay, Fonz is back. Fonz, I know you popped out and you popped back in. What are your thoughts on Resident Evil 3 getting the same remake treatment as 2019's Resident Evil 2? Oh, he might be on a different. It might be on a different thing. Oh, I will come back to Fonz. Let me, Gaming Forte. Let me come to you on this question.
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil 2 Remake is sold like gangbusters. It's currently a 93 Metacritic score across all of the platforms, which is bananas. I absolutely adored the game because obviously Resident 298 is my personal favorite of all time. What are you expecting, should the rumors be true, of Resident Evil 3 Remake? Do you expect the same kind of quality that we saw from Resident 2 of 2019?
Oh, man, they set the bar super high. As soon as I saw the graphics and how they updated the game, and that's the true definition of a remake and not a remaster.
Yes,
agreed.
I enjoy playing through Resident Evil 2, and I enjoyed the little subtle nuances that they changed to make it a little bit different, a little bit more challenging. But the one thing that I took away from Resident Evil 2 that I definitely want to see them do in 3, how they just implemented the atmosphere even more.
Yeah.
You know, they took the best parts of Resident Evil 7 and brung them over to Resident Evil 2 and made you feel claustrophobic. The gore was right in your face because that's how the original Resident Evils were from the beginning. And they really dived into that 100%. And as soon as I saw that this was a thing that they were doing, I was like, oh my God, if this actually does happen, this would be incredible. But they have to do the same thing that they did before. It can't be just a lazy remodel
remaster, right?
It can't be anything like that. They actually got to put that work in like they did before. And the funny thing is, they have the template now. They have the RE, they have the RE engine, they have everything that they have from Resident Evil 2 when it comes to the assets, so they don't really have to recreate anything. If they could just give me Resident Evil 3 like Resident Evil 2 looked and just refine the gameplay even more and give that game a little bit more of a push on the story side of it and fix some of the mechanic issues we had, which all Resident Evils suffered from back in the early 90s and late 80s, I would be 100% good with it. But ultimately, Capcom has been knocking it out of the park with all of their remakes and their remodel, and I think this is going to be nothing new. I think they're setting themselves up for a really good next generation, and I think they're setting a template on what we're going to see when the next RE comes out when it comes to RE8. And I think they're going to really surprise some people when they finally bring out a new version of RE that no one's seen before.
No, I agree. It's well, from what we understand and what we've heard from different rumors, the Resident Evil 8 is going to be a direct sequel to Resident 7. They are going to continue what Capcom, from what I've read on the forums, on the 4chan forums more specifically, and many of the many of the publications that have been talking about the Resident Evil franchise, is Capcom is looking to attack this from a two-prong position, meaning that they're going to continue the story with Resident Evil 8 being first person, because Resident 7 obviously did very well. And they're going to remake the original classics for the older cats like myself and yourself who appreciate where they come from. And listen, I'm going to say this right now. Maybe I'll even get booed off my own show. But if I would love for them to see, I would love to see all of them redone, but more specifically, a Code Veronica remake in Resident Evil to the RE engine. Come on, folks. I mean, are you kidding me? That game is amazing.
It's awesome.
The one thing I would definitely want to see them do, I want to see RE3 done in VR. Because when I beat Resident Evil 7, because I beat it in VR too. I beat it both ways.
Wow.
That, trust me, it wasn't easy. Playing that game in VR was not easy at all. But man, I'm just thinking, if you want to truly capture what RE was in the days of glory when you were running from stuff and things jumping from everywhere, and you just, where's that sound coming from? That's what I think should be the next thing. And guess what? Resident Evil 2 is a prime example of that. If they put out some type of update sometime next generation that brings VR, we know Microsoft doesn't have that right now, but we know PlayStation does, and they're working on a brand new VR headset. And we're not too far away from having a wireless option for this going forward. We already have it on PC with the Oculus Quest. But if they can bring RE and they already proved that they can make VR work in it, that is something that I would 100% expect in Resident Evil 3, because it was done so well in Resident Evil 7 with the first player aspect, and I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, I bought Resident 7 on both the PS4, of course, for the VR aspect, and the Xbox One, and beat it twice on each system. Didn't beat it in VR. Played it a while in VR and was like, I just want to enjoy my pension. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I chose not to. You know what? Let me go to Tempest Sun regarding the Resident Evil thing. Now, some may or may not know, Resident Evil Nemesis originally launched on September 22nd, 1999 for the Sony PlayStation console, and it was later ported to PC, the Sega Dreamcast, and of course the Nintendo GameCube, taking place around the same time as the events that transpired in Resident 2. That's why a lot of the environments were used. Now, if you remember, I'm not sure, and again, this is a bit of an Easter egg. If you remember playing Resident 2, there was an instance where you can see the clock tower in the distance. Nice. While you were running through the streets. And I mean, that's obviously reminiscent of Resident Evil 3. That particular clock tower played a huge part. For you personally, how excited are you to know that we could potentially get Resident Evil 3 Nemesis Remake as early as the first quarter of 2020?
Oh, dude, it is so freaking exciting, dude. Resident Evil 2 Remake. I actually got you one up. I beat it twice on PC. And I beat it 4 times, all 4 campaigns on Xbox.
Yeah, dang.
So I double dipped. I love the remake. It was so focused on what it wanted to do. It executed everything perfectly. No glitches, at least for me. It controlled perfectly.
No, it was perfect. It was as perfect as you can get.
Yeah, I literally think it's the closest thing to just a perfectly executed game as I can think of. My only gripe with it is because it was a remake. I wanted them to make it a little longer. It was so faithful, but I just wanted it. I just wanted more. Honestly, like I know that sounds selfish, but I wanted more. So I've been wanting this 3 remake. This one, if you think Mr. X is scary, wait until Nemesis is breathing down your throat. Just think about how nasty and gnarly he's going to look in this
Oh
REM.
God, I could only imagine, because Mr. X looks amazing in RE2.
Yeah, he really does. To me, I just can't wait to see how they do Jill, Leon, and Claire. They are real people. I don't know if anybody knows that. They're not 100% made up. They're face captured, so they're real people. But the way they just handcrafted him and put them in the game, Ada Wong too, as well. They look like real people. They sound like real people, dude. It was just done so well. So I want to see how they give Jill the same treatment. My boy is Chris Redfield, so I know he's not in the 3rd one, but I can't wait to see what they do. I know he was in DLC, but I want to see him in the 3rd person like they did these characters.
Yes,
but,
I agree. Yeah, I mean, if they do, obviously, if they remake Code Veronica, we're going to get Chris and Claire.
Oh my God.
Which would be amazing.
And that's still old enough to where the remake done in this style will be totally called for. Some of the newer ones, like 5 and 6, everybody hates those games.
5, I don't mind. I actually beat the balls off 5. I think I did 950 gamer score out of 1,000 with that.
Yeah,
Chivo King. Yeah, that's me.
Fun fact: it's actually the first game I ever played when I was dating my now wife.
Wow, that's
played
awesome.
that with her. I played it with my oldest niece. I played through that game with a bunch of people. 5, so I love 5. I even like 6. I actually beat 6 a couple times. So I'm a fraud. I know it was bad, but it's still Resident Evil. I loved it. So
I did 950 games.
Yeah. Oh, I'm hearing some playback on the show.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, it's awesome. I can't wait for it. Once again, I hope, because these games, they're shorter. They are shorter experiences, especially once you beat them once, you go back through them and you can get through them extremely fast. I'd love to see them expand it somehow, some way.
Well, you know what? I mean, if you remember, like with Resident 2, the whole scene with Sherry, right? Where she had to escape from the, you know what I'm saying?
That's all new. Yeah.
So I mean, they can add things like of that nature. I mean, for instance, there's so many other secondary characters that you meet in Resident 3 with Jill. They can actually allow you to, like they did with Ada Wong, to allow you to control them and actually see parts of Resident 3 that weren't available in the original.
Yeah, I hope they do that, man. I tell you what, Capcom, they have turned the ship around.
Oh, yeah.
They are one of the premier companies. I mean, they still do some stupid stuff. Like they are milking people for every penny on the Switch. Switch owners, if you want to play anything Capcom, it's full price.
It's full boat. Yeah, it's a shame.
It's extremely low effort too. But besides that, their newer titles, I mean, that's another snub. Devil May Cry 5. I'm sorry. Why didn't that get more nominations? I know that's the last topic, but anyway, that's
no. I see what you're saying. I mean, listen,
Yeah.
you are right when you say Capcom has turned it around, because a lot of people don't know this, but in very early 2016, right before Resident Evil 7 were launched in 2017, they were on the verge of bankruptcy, folks.
Yeah, it was bad.
You know, and that would have been a travesty of justice if one of my personal favorite companies of all time was pushed away. And I don't know how they did it, man, but they lift banger after banger after banger after banger. And listen, Resident Evil has always been their go-to. And if they want to continue to revive the series with the RE engine in mind, like they did with 2, I will buy one every year if available. But Clowns, I want to get your opinion on this. Resident Evil 2, in my opinion, is a modern day masterpiece. Some people will disagree. And I've actually had people tell me that they don't agree that it's in the Game of the Year nominations because it's technically a remake. I, of course, would disagree with that, because it is, it's so radically different, but the same from the original 98 version. What are your thoughts on the potential of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis getting the same makeover?
I think it would be fantastic for fans of the Resident Evil series. I think that fans want to see Capcom constantly revive the series and make it better and update it for, the future generations. They did a fantastic job with Resident Evil 2, like you said. So going forward, this is great fan service. It's going to help Capcom live on. And it's a great moneymaker for them while satisfying everybody. I personally, Boom, am not the biggest Resident Evil fan, but I do like Resident Evil 5. So I hope that gets a remake one day.
Nice. Well, it's possible. Capcom actually said in an interview that they had no problems actually even remaking 1 again, which I would buy. I tell you right now, I'd buy it like it was a brand new game. It'd be no problem. Cybernox, let me get your opinion on this. Resident Evil 3 for a lot of people holds as one of their favorites. I did a Twitter poll going back a while when Resident Evil 2 was rumored to have a remake, and a lot of people really enjoyed 3 because of the Nemesis character. Are you interested to see how they would remake this character and make him even more terrifying than Mr. X? And that's actually hard to do, considering how scary Mr. X was in the remake of Resident 2. What are your thoughts on that, dude?
Man, I love the horror genre, Resident Evil. Let me tell you something. When I was a little kid, I was very little, I was playing Resident Evil 2, and that damn dog busting through that window, man. But I'm on the other side of the spectrum here, believe it or not. I love the Resident Evil franchise. I love what they did with this remake. But I think they should be, I don't know. I think they should be focusing their resources on something new. Why not even reboot the series?
Yes. Well, they did reboot the series with 7 technically.
Okay, sure. But what I was gonna say with remaking these games, like, it's the same story. That's why I'm one of those people, Boom, that I don't believe Resident Evil from it, and it looks phenomenal. I'm gonna get a chance to play it during this small break that we'll have here. I don't think it should be nominated for the Game of the Year. I know that story, just like that scene with the dog, captured me by surprise back then. The first time I played it, it didn't this time, because I knew the story. I knew how the scare setups were. Why not reboot the series, create something new, create something fresh, giving call outs to the older series, and do something kind of what Tempest alluded to, expand the series, make it a longer game, make an in-depth story, a more in-depth story in their games. I would be excited because for the RE3 remake, just because I'm a Resident Evil fan, but I think they should just kind of reboot the series, give us something new, still in that world, something we haven't seen before, not something that we remember from back then. Like, I understand the nostalgia for those games, but I'm ready to see something. I know you said that Resident Evil 7 was kind of a reboot, but I don't know. It'll be fun if they can just go into that world and just do something
Blasphemy.
creative. Yeah, I know it's tough. I'm sorry, guys, but I love it. Listen, Resident Evil 2. I'm gonna be playing it this time. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the horror genre. I love what they did. I played the one-shot demo and I fell in love with it right away. It brought me back. I was like, this is a true remake. This is probably Resident Evil 2's remake. Is probably the best remake of a game I have ever seen.
Yeah, I would
Without a
agree.
I
doubt.
agree.
You know,
Yeah.
without a doubt in my mind. I'm not
Yeah.
saying I don't love it. I'm just saying I would rather them see, hey, you know, we've seen these stories. We know the outcomes. We know these characters very well. Let's expand on a new world. Let's do something else. Let's reboot this series. Look how good it did for, you know, God of War. You know, I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's the same thing, but
No, I mean, listen,
it could
you make great points, dude. Listen,
could
it's
be
I mean,
something
if
that they do
you're
going
a
forward.
diehard fan, so I can definitely see your point.
Yeah, but that's, you know, that's how I feel. If they do it, obviously, you know, they've already proven themselves with the Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3. They can't go wrong with it. They already have the template laid out. They just, you know, they just have to knock it out of the park.
I will
Yeah.
say quick also, I'm sorry, I'm just such a fanboy of Resident Evil 2. If you like the game and you like the gameplay, like Weapon X in the chat was thinking of buying it. If you really enjoy it, their challenges or their achievements to earn hidden
Yes.
weapons and stuff, it's addicting. It's very, very thought out and well crafted challenges in the game. So you can replay the game numerous times to do things a certain way and try to complete those challenges. And you get awesome rewards like a minigun with infinite ammo, a rocket launcher with infinite ammo. Cool stuff.
It's gonna be $20 on Black Friday. I mean,
Yeah,
like, if you want this game,
yeah.
it's definitely a good time to
Oh
buy
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think when it comes to what you were saying, the biggest thing is, because you're not wrong. I think we all would love to see Capcom do something different. I just think when we were just talking about Resident Evil, I think ultimately the blueprint is already set for what they need to do with the next one. They already built the assets basically to upscale and redo everything. And
Yeah.
if they just take that stuff and redo Resident Evil 3 with the same graphical fidelity that they did 2, there's really not too much more work because they already did all the hard work on RE2.
Yes.
But I do agree. I would like to see something new from them. And but the biggest thing is for them, I think they want to bring back all those older franchises that's been real dormant for a while and remind people of what those games were. So when they do start bringing out new stuff, people understand it's not just about one or two games. It's about the whole breadth of catalog they can bring, because a lot of that stuff's been forgotten.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean,
And there's
yeah.
people that, you know, never played the older games, and
Right.
you know, they can't play those. They can play those games now, and like Resident Evil 2, the remake, the gameplay has been adapted to today's standards. Let's say, right,
Yes.
the mechanics, like the gameplay is mechanics. So it's a much better time for them. Because if you remember, man, playing Resident Evil 2 back is you run, shoot, or run or shoot. Come on, baby, come on, let's go. You know, it was tough.
Yeah. I would say this. I think Capcom's doing their remakes better than Disney's doing their live action.
Oh,
Holy
wait,
matrimony.
Mandalorian's pretty good.
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
I like it. Yeah.
Mandalorian is dope. But listen, let's see if Fonz is back so we can get his opinion on this. Fonz, you back there, brother?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay,
I'm gonna listen
excellent.
to you guys.
No, that's okay. Do not even sweat it. We'll get your final points on. Did you get a chance to play Resident Evil 2, the remake this year?
I played the beta.
Okay.
It really wasn't for me. To me, and I know I'm the minority here, and I'm not saying the game's trash at all or anything like that. It's just it felt a bit dated to me. It feels like, you know, kind of like the old Resident Evil 2, and I've been there, done that, and I know it's a lot different within the game and stuff, but the mechanics feel very similar, and I just didn't really care for it. I'm like Knox. I want to see him make something new.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, again, that would be my point, that if you didn't enjoy it too, you're probably not going to probably buy or play Resident Evil 3. I mean, listen, that's fine. Again, I should get a t-shirt made like this and I should wear it for every show. Not every game is for every gamer, and that's perfectly okay. But if you have nothing else to add, Franz, I'll go to the next topic, but I'll start with you. Let me just see this. You know, obviously the PlayStation 5 is going to be a monster console. You know, we have heard lots of things, a lot of, and I don't want to say leaks, because we've heard directly from the people that are actually making it. So we know a lot. We know that it's going to be it's going to be, you know, they're working closely with AMD. We know that they're using SSD drive to make sure that there's virtually no loading, and thank God for that. I mean, that's going to be the biggest, I think, for me personally, exciting part of the next generation consoles is that the UI is going to be fast. I mean, like rocket fast.
Yeah.
But the next story, you know, PS5's top selling points may reveal its biggest feature that should potentially get PlayStation 5 buyers very excited. Now, obviously, Sony hasn't said much about the PS5, but every time it does, or whenever a developer talks about the console, again, its solid state drive is brought up. And it's because the SSD will make loading times basically a thing of the past. Well, the new feature that we're going to be talking about is called Instant Play. And this new information was revealed by Kotaku to beat writer Jason Schreier. And here's what he had to say on Twitter regarding the matter. Not coincidentally, play right away, download just what you need. No load times will be some of Sony's top selling points for the PlayStation 5. And if there's one thing that I'll be happy to do away with, and I'll say it again, is the bloody loading times in some of these games are abysmal, especially like the UI on both of them. They're just so damn slow. Now, my brother, who's very technically advanced, swapped out his old drive on the Xbox, on the Xbox One X, and put an SSD, and he said that it's unbelievable what a difference is, and I'm expecting that for both consoles. But if there's one thing, Fonz, and I've heard you talk about this on RDX, especially with the PlayStation 4, is when you're waiting and you're excited to play that new first-party game, and the game is, let's say, 100 gigs, it takes so bloody long to download. I mean, if you only have a certain amount of time in your evening to play because you have children, or you have to get up the next morning for work, or you have other responsibilities, and you're waiting 6 hours to play a game for it to download, there's nothing more that just is like that gut punch. So here's my question to you, and of course this is going to be for the panel as well as the chat. For you, Fonz, no load times in both playing games and downloading. It sounds like a dream come true for console gamers, but more specifically, PlayStation 5 owners. What are your thoughts on a new PlayStation 5 feature, and will it undoubtedly be a key addition to the new hardware next year?
You said it's a dream come true. I say keep dreaming. It's a pipe dream to have no load times. Yeah,
True.
I don't see us not having any load times, but I do see them drastically cut, you know, into just a few seconds. And that is feasible, but absolutely no load times. Nah, I don't see that. Now, what I do see is games in the future. Say you've got some games out there that still have loading when you enter a building or when you come out of a building. I see that stuff going away.
Okay.
There's no point in that. But when you're loading into a mission or whatever, I still think that that's going to be there, but it's probably going to be so seamless, so quick. They might even have like a little animation there that you don't even notice where it goes into a load, you know, and comes out of a load. So I'm thinking they're going to do some trickery like that. But
Elevator rides.
Elevators, right? Yeah.
yeah.
I hope there's no elevator, Mass Effect elevator rides, please.
Oh, not that long. We're not talking about that long. Yeah, but Mass Effect's still one of the greatest games, though. The series, period. Aside from Andromeda. But yeah, I see the load time still being there. It's just going to be, you know, drastically cut, man. We're not going to see those long load times anymore. With SSD drives, it's just, you know, talking to dealer and stuff, and he really knows his stuff.
He does. He is a tech. He's a tech head for sure.
Yeah, despite what some people will have you believe out there, he really knows his stuff. And when he gets into details about all this stuff, I get excited when I hear about these new consoles. And he talks about PlayStation 5 too. He's excited for both, man. This is you know, these consoles are going to be pretty damn amazing for consoles. We've never seen a console with, you know, drives like this. Like an SSD drive alone is huge, you know. And then we have everything else going along with it. We've got the new we're not stuck with Jaguar CPUs anymore and stuff. So it's going to be amazing. Yeah, but the load times, it'll still be there, I think. Just very, very minimal.
Well, I hope that it's drastically different. I mean, I know that, you know, I'm reaching for the stars here, and you know, considering that there, like you said, there's not going to be any Jaguar CPU cores that to be had, all freshly, newly designed, graphic chips that we, you know, that are going to make these consoles purr like a kitten. I'm excited.
Yeah, Boom. What you have to remember too is, as good as these consoles are getting, so are the games. The games are just going to get that much more advanced.
Yes.
And it's going to push these systems as well. So, of course, I think that's where you're going to see some of the, like with the older games. Sure, I could see them cutting load times completely out of some of these older games.
Yeah.
You know, even this generation, all these games that are out. But you know, in the future, we're going to get some games that they're going to really be pushing the graphical fidelity and everything else, and you're going to have some load time.
Hey, Fonz, have you heard any of the or read any of the rumors about the new Assassin's Creed? Because I know you came around on Odyssey. And
Odyssey was amazing. Matter of fact, Odyssey was my third favorite game of the gen.
It's one of my favorites. It's in my top 3 easy. And I was just, to go to your point, these new consoles, dude, just think of Odyssey alone at 60 frames a second on the Scarlet. I mean, they could easily patch that puppy. It is so impressive. Just think about Ragnarok. I mean, the stuff that I'm hearing, at least, double the map size, co-op.
Double the map size, yes.
It absolutely blows my mind. Crazy. I'm so excited. And that's the kind of stuff you're going to be able to get with these new consoles. It's
and Vikings on top of that.
I know. It's so cool. I can't wait.
I mean, I know this is a little off topic though, but how big are these worlds getting? Damn. How much time am I going to need to play
I would hope that we were going to be getting to Ready Player One sooner than later, to be honest with you. Me personally would love that. But you know, Tempest, I got to you real quick on this. You know, the both consoles. But more specifically, of course, we're talking about the PlayStation 5. Has me excited because, you know, regardless of what people will tell you on Twitter, I understand that the opposition is always going to say negative stuff online. I get it. But if anyone has championed Sony this generation with their first party, if you listen to me and you can honestly say that I haven't been a fan of not only their marketing but their first party games, and you're full of shit because. Somebody wrote in the chat earlier that I don't know if he was saying it or he said someone said it. I don't know that he say she said that I bullshitted about God of War beating God of War. Folks, I put 60 plus hours into God of War. I'm very close to a platinum. I even own the freaking special edition console. So if I wasn't a God of War fan, would I have all of that done? Come on, folks. I mean, let's be adult about this. But anyway, getting back to what we're talking about, when you start hearing what each of these consoles, but again, more specifically the PlayStation 5, all these bells and whistles, do you believe that it's going to be anything less than $500 come next November 20th, which is the rumored release date?
Less, I mean, if they pull through on anything they're claiming that these systems are going to have, I just don't physically see how they can. I don't even think Microsoft would be willing to take that loss, anything under 500. So it's going to be 500 or more. But you know what? It's going to be worth it.
Absolutely.
To the topic of the load times, I'm in agreement with Fonz. There's no way in the world there's going to be 0 load times. That's practically, I think, a pipe dream for almost forever. I mean, you're always going to have to load something. Now, they can get creative. I mean, if you remember, the first Halo was creative. Remember loading those maps were so huge at the time, and all you'd see is like a 1-frame dip momentarily, and you maybe might see a little text say like loading or something, but that was loading into the next level. They'd start loading, you know, different parts of the map or whatever while you were playing, and you just see like a little hiccup. The the wonderful Mass Effect elevator rides. I mean, developers can hide things like that very like smartly. They can get creative with it. I don't see no load times. I see like half the loading time, maybe, and that is very possible, especially if they're rocking SSDs. Because if you have a computer with an SSD, you see the difference. I mean, no doubt about it. You can load stuff noticeably quicker. Like I played Metro Exodus on Game Pass for PC, and I played it on Xbox. I bought it on Xbox, but I played it on Game Pass for PC. And that load time on Xbox, that's like 5 minutes worth of loading to get.
Oh my God, yeah, it's long.
It was terrible. On the SSD, I don't know for sure. I want to say it was easily under a minute. I mean, that is a huge difference, absolutely massive difference. So, you know, if they don't completely come through with a no load time, I'm not going to hate on them. But if we get drastically less load times, to me, that's still a massive plus. And just think about what you're getting with these consoles, even the PS5 and what we hear, the Scarlet being more powerful, the Scarlet. Just think of what you're getting for that price tag. If it's around $500, I tell you what, you're not going to be able to build a PC anywhere near as powerful.
No.
Well, did you hear the new rumor about the PS5 being completely backwards compatible?
I hope so, man.
Yeah, they're saying that it'll be able to play PS1 discs. That's
wow, really? Then that would be pretty interesting.
Things have changed,
amazing.
huh?
No,
that'd be really cool.
No,
yeah, that's the thing too.
I mean, here's the thing: it's a rumor, and it's being tossed around by some of the Sony guys. Yeah. And you have to take it with a huge grain of salt because, first off, those Sony guys, they were the ones that were really against backwards compatibility.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah. And now they're touting it. So it's like, what is it, man? Do you like it or do you hate it? Because
I tell you what, I hope it's true for the Sony fans, and
I hope it's true for gamers. Period. For myself, I'd love the PS5 to be completely backwards compatible. I still have a lot of PS2 games laying around.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I got some in my drawer. Trust me. Yeah.
The question is, will they be able to play PS3 games? See that cell processor.
It will.
Really?
Will. And see, that's where I don't truly believe it 100% because that cell processor was a bitch to.
Yeah, it was. It was terrible.
Yeah.
So. But one more point, just these new consoles, which I think is exciting, preserving games. Some games that you play now are really hard for these consoles to just run. Any game that might have any dips in frame rate or might have long pop in on the graphics, anything of that sort, a lot of that stuff is going to get so much better. These games that run almost 60 but not all the time will probably run the full 60 cleanly, seamlessly on these new consoles. I mean, just as we see with some older games on the Xbox through the backwards compatibility, even your old games are going to be better with these new consoles. So overall, I can't wait for it. I want them now. The fact I got to wait a year is killing me.
That's great. Oh, well, listen, great point. Gaming Forte, let me get your opinion on this. Obviously, you work at GameStop, so you can imagine what the pre-order shenanigans is going to be once E3 finishes in 2020. I would imagine that both consoles will be made to. Well, again, maybe not. Sony. They kind of walk to their own drum a little bit, and maybe if they do some sort of an event where they show off the PlayStation 5, which would be kind of dope, I'm not going to front, maybe right from that event they say, okay, pre-orders are up. I'm paying for mine. I'm dropping at least half immediately down on it, and I'll pay it off, monthly or weekly, whatever. By the time it comes out, it's going to be paid for. I'm not screwing around because next year is going to be. Listen, all I can tell you is if you're like me and you support multiple consoles, either get in that corner and hook it around or start collecting cans because it's going to be expensive as all hell. But let me ask your opinion on this. What you've heard with the PlayStation 5 excites you for their next big console releasing in only 12 months?
All right, so we don't have anything really to go off when it comes to games other than the games they already talked about and haven't really talked about anything past that. So I'm just excited, really. To honestly, when it comes to, I'm tired of this generation. When it comes to consoles, you know, it's a reason that dude, Game Pass Ultimate has been a godsend just because you don't have to play on a console if you don't want to.
Right.
And the one thing that, and like I said, I love consoles, but man, like the one thing PlayStation keeps talking about with these load times, like trust me, load times are ridiculous. It's like, I already don't like putting a disc in my system, but now I gotta wait for something to load is even worse.
You play Destiny, bro. You got the worst.
Dude, it's terrible. Like the difference between Destiny on console and PC is ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
but you're right about some of the things you were saying about like the little tricks and stuff they can do. Because Bungie still does that today with Destiny when it comes to load screens.
Yeah.
So I think some part of that, like Fonz was saying, I think is a lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to what they're going to be doing with that. Part of it's going to be on the development side where they're going to hide and mask stuff by like making you walk down ravines that is loading the you're going to walk down this beautiful looking ravine that you're going to be like, man, you're going to take pictures of it, put it on Twitter, and then you'll be like, this is so beautiful, and then all of a sudden a word's going to pop up at the bottom of the screen. It's going to say you're in the next area, but it never really loaded to you on the screen. So that's why I think it's going to happen at. But I do think going to SSDs, and with Sony doing this cartridge-based SSD, which they are 100% known for doing their proprietary stuff, it's going to, I think that's why they're trying to keep the system price low. Like when they keep saying $500 or $400 for the system, because the SSDs are going to be so
they're going to clobber the consumer. I'm letting you know now.
They are, dude. They clobbered them with the Vita.
Yes,
the Vita
they did.
6 was ridiculously priced, but guess what? The Sony has earned the right to do that when it comes to their system because they know their people are going to pay for it. Now, when it comes to the system itself, maybe not. But when it comes to the accessories for the system, they'll put out they'll give you a 1 terabyte or they'll give you a 500 gig SSD. But if you want that 2 or 3 terabyte, God knows how much it's going to cost. I mean, SSDs already still cost a crap ton of money for, the terabyte versions of them. But
they're expensive.
So when it comes to just that, I'm very interested to see what these systems can do when it comes to just making my gaming life easier, because we're going into an age where things aren't going to get better graphically. Like they can get, textures can get a little bit better looking. You could we really didn't get true 4K textures this generation. We got 4K output, but the textures and stuff wasn't on par with stuff you get on PC for a lot of games.
Yeah. You got 4K.
We got 4K. You go look at Red Dead Redemption, even though that game is kind of busted on PC, but if you go look at it on PC and you look even on the X where it looks amazing, there is still a huge difference, and consoles have a ways to go to catch that. So I don't think you're gonna see anything like that, because I think it's real hard to represent that. But what they can do is, where it comes to the games being made for a console and consoles only, that you can see that type of the loading screens. You can see going in and out of your menus and getting to stuff faster, loading up your friends list, for God's sake, when there's 1,000 people on it shouldn't take 20 years to do. So those are the little things I'm looking forward to, because consoles are supposed to be about ease of use and getting you in and out of the things and activities that you want to do the most and connect you with the people that you want to play with the most. And if the system can do that, the games are going to be fine, because people like playing on consoles. And as long as the console makes it easy for you to do it, that's all I'm looking forward to. And please, Microsoft, give us a better version of Upload Studio, because Sony's killing you when it comes to that.
Yeah, Sony does it much better.
They do it. Go ahead.
Upload Studio, most people aren't really doing anything off the PlayStation, though. Like
no, they're not. They're not. But when I'm saying, it's just another thing. It's like when you want to, like, streaming from your PS4 is more prevalent than streaming from your Xbox.
Well, you can go right to YouTube on the PlayStation 4.
And that's what I'm talking about. And
that's what we need to do.
And it's the thing. Microsoft says it's not a Microsoft thing. That's a YouTube thing. YouTube has to update their browser for them to be able to do it on Xbox. And I call kind of BS on that, but it is what it is on that. But ultimately, I can't wait. I'm just like you, Boom. My PS5 is already paid for pretty much because as soon as they announced, when they started talking about it, and as soon as they put that date said sometime next year, I started putting $50 up every month.
Yeah.
And I've been telling all my customers that because trust me, I got a call list. Or for PlayStation, I got about 30 something people on it. For Xbox, I got about 20 something. And I said, hey, get on this list. I will let you know the moment it goes live, and you could drop your money down. And kids coming into the store, like I told a kid yesterday, he was upgrading his original Xbox from 2013 to an Xbox One X because he wanted the Star Wars bundle. And I was like, yo, no, that's a good deal. Mom was trying to talk about it and say, hey, you know, the new system's coming out next year. I was like, no, let them get the system because guess what? They're going to do trade-in promotions for these X's.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to get at least $200 for this X. And if you can tell me that over a course of a calendar year that you don't get your money's worth out of playing all the games that's coming out next year with that system, and then trade it in towards the next one, you're going to get your benefits out of it. And I told them, start saving your money now. Put that little lunch money up, you know, and over the course of the year, you'll be able to walk out and get that brand new system next year and not have to wait the whole generation to get it by the time the next one gets ready to come out. So that's what everybody needs to do. Look at these trade promotions, get ready to get rid of your systems. If you got the money, upgrade now. So you can get more money for your buck with these X's because these X's are about to be dirt ass cheap in a minute.
Yeah.
Yep.
So definitely do that. But when it comes to these next systems, I'm super excited. And I wasn't excited before because Microsoft really didn't give me one. And I'm still waiting to see what they're going to do on the first party front. And I know they're coming. I just need to see it. Sony had me from day one when they started releasing God of War and Spider-Man because I already knew what they had in store. And Last of Us, they're just going to double dip on us twice with that title when it comes out next year. So I'm looking forward to that.
You think they're going to come out with another version?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
No, 100%.
What?
No, this is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to do. I'm going to tell you, they're not going to, not in the sense of what they're going to make you buy another version if you already own it. They're gonna have a PS4 version,
and they're gonna slap a PS5 sticker on that bad boy.
Yep, they're gonna have a PS4 version of the game that's going to release, and you'll buy it. Everybody that still owns that game when the PS5 comes out, your game will work on the PS5 version. You will get the free update, but guess what? They will no longer sell Last of Us 2 with a PS4 banner on it when PS5 comes out. All those games going forward will say PS5 on it. And that's what The Last of Us is going to say on it. And it's going to get a perception for somebody that probably never bought it on PS4 that is a PS5 game. And that's what they're going. That's what they're going to do going forward. But you're going to get the update for free.
It might dupe some casuals, but it ain't going to dupe us. The hardcore.
Oh no, it's not going to dupe us. I mean, but guess what? 102 million people. What 15% of those is 15% of that is casual. I mean, is us. The other
only 15%. Yeah, the casuals
only 15%
make up 85% of the market for
sure.
sure.
It'll be a perfect game to bundle with the PS5 too.
And they might bundle it. Exactly. That might be the bundle game they do with it.
Makes sense. Cybernox, let me get your opinion on this. You know, obviously the PlayStation 5 is going to have a lot of it's going to have the bells and whistles of what you would expect with the next generation console. But when you hear stuff, little things, you know, like instant play, does that get you excited to want to upgrade next year?
Oh, 100%. You know, I have a gaming rig too, and I have a couple of SSDs on my PC, and I know how fast those loading times can be compared to a console. So it's just like, oh my God. Every time I hear another rumor, I'm just like, please just get E3 here so we can literally find out what the specs of these consoles are so we can get prepared and we can see what the future is going to bring to us. But yeah, I think everybody here already said something that I was going to say, you know, a bigger world, faster loading worlds, you know, faster load times. I don't believe for a second that there's going to be this instantaneous freaking loading when you have to download a freaking, you know, 50, 100 gig game. But it is going to be good to see the worlds themselves. I even know when they were testing Spider-Man on the PS5 or for that closed a bunch of journalists, they were explaining, you know, they had to implement a couple of things on the PS4 because the world wouldn't load as fast as they needed the world to load when he was swinging, you know what I mean? And with these SSDs and all the techniques that they have now, they'll be able to, make that 1-on-1. So you'll be able to see a lot, sharper images, bigger worlds, more graphic fidelity, I'm sure. So we'll see. I'm excited for it. It 100% gets me excited because I know the value of an SSD drive is going to do.
Nice. Well, you are part of the PC master race.
Ah.
Before I get to clowns on the final point of this particular topic, Sir X-Men with the outstanding $2 super chat. Sorry about that, brother. Thanks for being here. He says, Power Stone, come on, Capcom. Yes, Power Stone was so good on the Dreamcast. My God, I'd love to see HD versions of that. JD Gamer drops an additional $5 super chat. He says, they already have PC emulators for the PS3. The only reason why the PS4 couldn't emulate the PS3 was because of the cell processor was faster than the Jaguar. Wow, I did not know that. That's pretty interesting stuff, dude. Well, thank you for the information, but more importantly, thank you for your generosity. Clowns, let me get your opinion on this. Obviously, next year is going to be expensive, and some people, unfortunately, are going to have to draw a line in the sand and maybe pick up one at the end of the year because, obviously these are releasing during the holiday and, family comes first. You got to make sure the kids are taken care of before you treat yourself. At least that's what I would do. Are you getting a PlayStation 5? And if you are, do little things like instant play and other techniques they're going to do to make their PlayStation 5 bigger, better, and faster interest you?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get a PlayStation 5. I get every console, every generation. I also play on PC, so I'm excited for the next generation. And any little technical improvement, gimmick, or whatever they throw in there, I'm going to be excited for because it's going to be different, newer, maybe a little bit better. I hear a lot about the SSDs and people predicting like extremely fast loading times, et cetera, et cetera. But I think what's going to happen here is I think that the data on these games are going to get so big that even if the SSD loads faster, I don't know if the processor is going to be able to move as quick as the hard drive. So I still think we're going to get some loading times just because I think everything's going to increase in size.
That makes sense. Yeah,
I think
that does
loading
make
times
sense.
will always exist, right? There's no way it's not going to. But
you should at least notice a difference, though.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Well, 100%.
Yeah, we'll certainly see somewhat of a difference, but I don't think these expectations that people are throwing out there, like, oh my God, it's gonna go away. Let's get the PS5. It's gonna go away. No loading times. Let's do this. That's not gonna happen. They're gonna boot it up and be disappointed.
Well, listen, it's going to be interesting. I actually cannot wait for next generation. For me, again, I've been gaming since '78, and I have owned, and I mean this, folks, I've owned every console in every generation in the history of since '78 forward. There hasn't. I mean, I even had Virtual Boy, for crying out loud. I've bought them all. I love gaming. It's my only vice I have. So I'm really, really looking forward to next year. But I want to move on to the last topic, and I saved the best for last. CD Projekt Red has just updated developments of Cyberpunk 2077.
What? Wait, wait. You said you saved the best for last. I thought it would be Stadia.
Oh,
yeah, Stadia. Nice. I mean, listen, Stadia's in the bushes, so we're not gonna waste the good people's time with this disaster.
Yeah, I was ready to talk about Stadia for the last hour, man.
Well, listen, you know what? We'll have you back on the show, and we'll do a round robin of which Five Below the Stadia system has gone into. Because that's where that thing is going. But getting back to CD Projekt Red, and I'm excited for this because they just updated the development of Cyberpunk 2077, and they have just confirmed that one of 2020's biggest titles has entered the final stages of pre-release. Now, there's no doubt that Cyberpunk 2077 has already won Game of the Year 2020 for some gamers. And based on what CD Projekt Red has already shown of the game, they wouldn't be wrong to suggest such a thing. So it's safe to say that Cyberpunk may be the biggest game in the history of gaming. And it's awesome to know that their developers have been working seemingly night and day on this title for years. And what's exciting for me as someone that's looking forward to this is that apparently they're finally starting to see the end of the light at the tunnel. Now, in a story that I pulled from comicbook.com, they say Cyberpunk 2077 has a huge ambitious level, so much so that some people within the industry are wondering if the April 2020 date could actually be too ambitious and might be delayed. But the developer themselves has said, even though it's a tight deadline, they have faith in their team that this will launch on time. Now, obviously, this information that we're talking about right now was pulled from one of their financial statements for the third quarter for the company, and this is what the report had to say. The reported increase in spending is mainly from development of Cyberpunk 2077, which has now entered its final and most intensive pre-release stage. What exactly the final most intensive stage actually isn't really clear at this time, but it seems as if the game is moving towards that gold status. Now, the game is going to launch on April 16th for the PS4, Xbox One, Stadia, I doubt it, and PC. So they still have a decent amount of time that, obviously they can get to work, and fingers crossed they manage to make that deadline. So I have two questions to the panel. And Fonz, I'll start with you. Number one, how excited are you to jump into the world of Cyberpunk 2077? But more importantly, do you think that with Projekt CD Red's history, could we see a delay of the potential Game of the Year 2020 to maybe the holiday of next year?
Okay. Well, first off, I'm very excited for Cyberpunk. It checks all the boxes for me. You've got sci-fi, you've got first-person shooter RPG in a big open world. I mean, you got almost like an 80s Blade Runner vibe too with
Yes.
it. And so it checks so many boxes for myself. It's my most anticipated game coming up, next year. So I'm so excited for this, and I think that I've covered this game a lot on my channel, and I've honestly said a few times already that I think this game's going to be delayed. I think it's really ambitious, and a delay wouldn't be terrible necessarily. I think if they need more time to finish this game, get it done right, so be it. I want this game to be done right. I don't want another game to come out, just not finished or broken. We don't need that anymore. I mean, we've had so many games this generation that have come out in that sort of state, and I'm tired of it. Like I want these games to come out well polished. And I think when it comes down to the developers, who does it better than those guys?
Nobody, dude.
Witcher 3, and we've had absolutely zero microtransactions, no extra monetization. It's all about, for the gamer. I've just been really, really happy with CD Projekt Red and what they've accomplished with, their games and how they want to bring them to us, and I can't say enough about them. I'm just excited about this game, man. Like, for me, there is no other game that just tops my excitement right now. And I really love The Last of Us. I love that game. It's one of my favorite games of all time. And The Last of Us 2, I know is going to be great, but I just, there's something about Cyberpunk that's telling me this could be the game next year.
Well, listen, again, there's some people depending on what circles you run in, have already deemed Cyberpunk their game of the year, and we haven't even hit Christmas yet, so it's going to be interesting to say the least. I'm super stoked for the game. I have the collector's edition pre-ordered. I cannot wait to spend hours, and the boroughs or the districts which are set up like New York City has the 5 boroughs. That's how it's going to be. I believe there's 6 of them. This game is going to be freaking huge. You are going to spend so much time playing this. I can see someone putting 3, 4, like for instance, a good friend of the show, Luca, who loves The Witcher 3. I can see her putting 500-600 hours into this game. There's no doubt about it. But let me get to Cybernox. Let me get your opinion on this. Obviously, Cyberpunk and Cybernox.
Oh, yeah.
No pun intended. Obviously, you must be a fan of some sorts, but this is potentially one of the biggest releases in 2020. And the two questions is number one, are you excited for this new game from, of course, CD Projekt Red? But more importantly, do you think that there's a potential of a delay?
I'm extremely excited for this game. I'm a big fan of CD Projekt Red. I'm a big fan of the Witcher series in general. I think some of their storytelling and some of the worlds that they create, it's truly amazing stuff. And from the demos that we've seen, I mean, you cannot go wrong. That world looks amazing. I think Fonz nailed it on the head. It gives you that Blade Runner feel. The demos that we've seen with the shooting, the RPG mechanics, like the graphics, like everything working seamlessly. It's amazing. The only thing is, I want excited, but I want them to take their time, do this game, do the right by this game, which their track record says that they will. But I think they started pre-production or production on this game right after the Blood and Wine DLC for Witcher 3.
Yeah, that's
and that was I want to say 3 years ago. 3 or 2 years. Yeah, 3 years ago, 2016. So 3 years in development for such ambitious game may not be enough time. So I think we might see some delays on this game, but to me, it won't be a bad thing if they delay this game. If you haven't played any games on the Witcher series, give yourself treat yourself to that game because it's amazing.
I mean, it's in Game Pass now too.
It's in Game Pass. It's gonna be in Game Pass next year. It's on Black Friday right now. It's like $10.
Oh.
Like you can't go wrong. If you grab like the Game of the Year edition, it's like $20, and you get both DLCs, which they say that some of the DLCs on The Witcher is better, than some of the games out there, and even The Witcher. So it's amazing, man. I fully trust CD Projekt Red. Just take their time, release it when it's ready. I'll be fine with that.
Cyberpunk is a game that a lot of people have told me they will wait for the new consoles to play, and I'm not one of those people. I can't do that. I
don't think I could wait either. I'm right there with you,
I really want to play is out. I'm going to play it right away. I don't want people to spoil it. Let's face it. We live in a world where technology spoils everything. Twitter, we got social media now, but it's one of those games that if it did say get delayed and it got delayed till say September, I may wait.
Okay, I
may wait if that's the case. But I'm
could you imagine if it was delayed till around to literally around the new consoles, and that was like, wow, that would be great.
Yeah,
but
what about if they dropped it day and date in Game Pass?
Oh my god,
that
would be ridiculous.
Microsoft would have to pay big bucks for that.
They would have to pay big bucks, but they have the marketing. We know that's confirmed. Microsoft has the marketing rights for Cyberpunk. Obviously,
they also have a great relationship.
They have a fantastic. Fonz, listen, you might be on to something here, Fonz.
Yeah,
that's my biggest crazy prediction for 2020.
Great prediction. I love it.
Well, and with The Witcher 3 right now, it kind of, as you guys just mentioned, it's coming to Game Pass too. Yep. So you never know. I don't know if it'll come day and date to Game Pass, but we can see it on Game Pass.
I got news for you. If I were Microsoft, I know again, Fonz. First of all, this is an amazing theory that you just dropped live on this show. But could you just the ramifications of just saying this out loud, right? Could you just imagine if they're dropping their new console, they're pushing Game Pass, and they could logistically put on the box included in Game Pass Cyberpunk 2077? People are going to probably run out to buy that console just because.
Especially even if it's not day and date, if it comes out with the console on Game Pass, it would be huge. And it would sell Scarlets. It would.
Yeah, absolutely would. Listen, they should hire you for marketing, dude. Maybe you can even go there and stand outside the Microsoft and do like the crash.
I'm always telling Colt Eastwood he needs to get hired there. You know.
Oh yes, they need to give that dude a job there absolutely for sure. And he has a relationship with a few of the big wigs. But
Yeah.
let me move on to of course, clowns. Let me ask your opinion. Cyberpunk 2077. As we close out tonight's show and the last topic, this is going to be one of the biggest games. And like I said, next year is going to be big for games, but for this particular game by this particular developer, I think they're one of the developers that most of the community, regardless of what flag you fly, hold them to such high regards. What are your thoughts on the potential of a delay to the end of the year? But more importantly, are you excited to jump into the world of Cyberpunk?
Well, first I'll address the delay. If there is a delay, I would be disappointed, extremely disappointed. But on the other hand, I understand how big this game is and how much work it's taken to get so far. And I wouldn't want to see the developers suffer unnecessary crunch just to get it out the door either. So realistically, I do expect a delay, but it just would be disappointing. And what was the other part of your question, Boom?
Are you excited to jump into the world of Cyberpunk?
Yeah, I love CD Projekt Red. Four Guys with Quarters actually has a good relationship with them. So there's a lot of stuff that I just love their stuff, man. I love The Witcher 3. I was obsessed with that game for so long. I played that game over and over. I never completed all the DLC, but I just played the main story over and over. I think they put together fantastic stories with fantastic artwork, with fantastic cinematics, and it's so evolved. Like their worlds are big and in depth, and they just create this masterpiece. These are the kind of games that you just long for, and you can't wait for them to come out because you're going to sink so much time into it that when you spend that $60 on buying the game, or even if you get it a little bit less than 60, it doesn't matter because it's worth every single penny. Like if I had to just to keep those guys in business, I'd pay $100 for their game because I love what they do.
Bro, I have a
fan.
version of The Witcher 3 like on my Xbox, my PC. Then I bought the Game of the Year edition like twice. I was like, what am I doing here? You know?
Yeah, they're just so good, man. Like they're one of the best out there.
Yeah.
Well, listen, again, you're a true fan and you want to support your favorite developer, and there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. And Tempest Sunlight, I listen, I shouldn't be asking this question. I think I know you through and through, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I have to ask all the panel members. Number one, are you excited to jump into the world of Cyberpunk? The answer is, I can only imagine. And the second question is, do you potentially see a delay coming on one of the largest games to be released in 2020?
Bruh. Am I excited? That is a silly question. It's a good question, though. I'm extremely excited. This is sci-fi to me done right. This is my type of sci-fi. I don't need phantom mother milk feces throwing, phantom undead babies all over the place to get my sci-fi kicks off. This is the kind of stuff I live for. It is so up my alley as far as like the Blade Runner esque aesthetic. Trying to go for the cyberpunk aesthetic and nail that kind of Blade Runner feel is extremely difficult. I think only one series has ever been able to do it before, and that is the Mass Effect series, that original trilogy. This is hard to do, but I trust it with these individuals probably more than anybody else. They literally are the gift that keeps giving when you play their games. I mean, The Witcher 3 is so big, it's like it's kind of messed up. like the DLC is so large. I haven't even been able to beat the thing, to be honest with you. I keep getting sidetracked. It's just so large. Yeah. Like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but these guys know what they're doing. If it gets delayed, I say just delay it till Scarlet. Just do it. Now, if it doesn't get delayed, the way I see it is, as long as it's not filled with bugs or the systems physically can't handle the game, if it does come out, I'm still going to buy it day one. And the thing I know they're going to do is this company will release a enhanced patch for the PS5 and the Scarlet.
Yeah, of course they will.
Let me add some to what you said about The Witcher 3. You said you couldn't complete it because you got sidetracked and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I was getting the same way. I tried to play this game several times, and I started on the PlayStation 4,
Mhm.
went over to Pro when I bought that, and I couldn't do it. Like,
Yeah.
first off, I was doing the combat all wrong. I didn't really look into it and find out the oils to use and
Take
stuff like that.
your potion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was just running around, just swinging at stuff and dying a lot. And
Yeah.
I was just
See-
going back and forth between all the stories, and they were phenomenal, but it was just like a lot to get through.
Yeah.
And so I just put it on the back burner. And then dealer kind of pushed me. He's all, no, play it on the X, keep trying. So I did. And once I found out the combat system, and then I was started to go through the story, man, that game, CD Projekt Red, has made me rethink how storytelling should be in video games,
Oh,
because
Nice.
the way the stories intertwine with one another, because a lot of them, they do, like, you'll be playing a story for somebody in a village, and then it'll intertwine with another main part
That
of the
is true.
story.
Let's do that.
And it's
Yeah.
just, it's so amazing with how they do the storytelling. So
Yeah.
that's another thing that has me so excited for Cyberpunk, because I know they're going to bring this storytelling aspect to the world of Cyberpunk.
and the choices and your consequences and like
Oh,
all the
it's
gray areas that
amazing.
happen. You're like, what? It's amazing.
Yeah, and
It's
I ended
so
up
good.
playing through the entire series of Witcher 3. I played the DLC, everything. I honestly, one of the best games of the generation, if not one of the best games ever created, period.
See, for me, the exciting thing is for them to take their storytelling abilities, and they're allowing you to make your character this time, which I am a huge fan of. That's one of my favorite things in games, when I can make a character, especially if they're not mute and they're voiced. Like V will be completely voiced. That's one of the reasons I attached so hard to the Mass Effect series. Is my Shepherd was my Shepherd. I mean, yeah, they have the same voices, but however you wanted to play it, it was your character. I mean, you could do that with Geralt as well, but it's just different when they allow you to make your own character. I can't wait. And I think almost that alone, I'm probably going to be a little bit more like laser focused on this one to want to see it through to the end. But yeah, dude, this is, I'm one of those people that proclaim it as my game of the year 2020. I mean, could it be a dumpster fire? Sure, but I think that's like a 2% chance.
Maybe even less.
2020 is loaded.
It's ridiculous.
Man.
I'm actually going to bring that up in one of the upcoming original topic. I'm going to go over the top 10 of 2020 that we know, and we'll be breaking that down on a future episode. But Gaming Forte, why don't you close out today's outstanding show with your thoughts on Cyberpunk 2077, how big the game is going to be? Are you excited to play it? But more importantly, do you think that we might actually get a delay?
Oh man, don't ever say delay and Cyberpunk in the same sentence. That's the only game in 2020 that I actually had paid off already. It's literally just sitting there waiting for me to pick it up. And just like they said, Keanu Reeves said, you're gorgeous. That game is going to be gorgeous. I'm a huge fan of everything CD Projekt Red has done. I played all the Witchers before they even came to console. I played them on PC because that's the only place they were available at the time. And man, I'm more looking forward to, just because they're building this game with all the side missions in mind. And that was one of the biggest things that people really didn't get a chance to actually experience inside of Witcher 3, because that DLC portions of it was better than the main campaign.
Oh, sure. 100%.
And the game itself is such a huge monumental task to go through. I just think with Cyberpunk, they're going to find a way to actually just narrate you and guide you through the story. And even knowing they're still going to have that flair where they're going to have stuff off the beaten path, it's not going to be like it was with Witcher. Like, hey, walk down this street and this check mark could pop up and then make you want to go investigate what's going on over there. I just think it's going to be more of, in the realm of just combat in general, you're just going to come across things that's just going to trigger that makes you want to just go over and investigate more. But that's what I'm looking forward to this game. I'm just looking for a solid game at this point. I don't want to see it to get delayed, but guess what? If it's delayed, it's for the best, because I want this game to be as great as it can be when it launches. And I will not wait for a version to come out on the new systems or the patch to come out on another system. That just gives me another reason to go back and play the game at a later date when they do bring out the new systems. Honestly, you know, maybe because normally what they do is those DLCs all don't launch at the same time. So maybe the DLCs might be relegated to be played on the new systems by the time everything comes out. So I could definitely see CD Projekt Red doing something like that. But just the scope and breadth of this game is amazing. It terrifies me to death because I know how good they are and how much pressure they're under, and I think they can deal with it. But ultimately, I just want people to enjoy this game because this has the making to be the next best game of whatever in the generation is going to start next year for the next generation. That could be the game of that generation in the first year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, I got to tell you this. First of all, this has been an amazing show. We're over the 2-hour mark. Everyone's got to get to going, and I want to get to the outros. First of all, I have to thank Sir X-Men, who is always here in the chat, who's been a guest on this show. We'd like to get him back on here eventually. He drops a $2 super chat. He says, you know, they're going to give it to The Last of Us 2, meaning Game of the Year. You know, it's hard to say, dude. I mean, listen, if I'm very excited for The Last of Us 2, but I'm also excited for Halo Infinite. I'm excited for Resident Evil 3 Remake. I'm excited for. There's just so much to be excited about in 2020 that it's really you're gonna have to strategically plan out, and that's a good thing about Game Pass. And I'm so sorry that Sony is just kind of dug their heels in the sand and then not making the PS Now like Game Pass, because I would subscribe to that in a second. But anyway, that's for another show. First of all, Fonz, I want to thank you so much for being here, dude. It has been a long time coming. I've worked with you numerous times on RDX. It's always been a pleasure. But having you on my particular show has been amazing. And of course, you will obviously, hopefully, eventually be back. It was great to talk gaming with you. Do me a favor and tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check out your YouTube channel that you have been adding content to.
Well, I haven't added content in a little while. I had a change in my job, so I have not had a chance to really make videos lately, but I will be back to doing it as soon as I can. Right now, got a lot of other stuff going, but you can find that channel at The Grounded Gamer right here on YouTube, and you can follow me at jfonzarelli on Twitter, where I'm very active daily. I'm always there. I don't take breaks on the weekend. Don't take breaks any other day. I'm always on Twitter. So yeah, I don't really partake in the crazy stuff going on all the time, but I do get involved here and there if it's, addressed to me or sent to me or something. But anyway, you can find me there, and it's been great, man. The chat's awesome. And boom, thank you for inviting me. Everybody here, Forte, Knox, all of you have been so awesome, and I can't wait to come back, man. Definitely.
No, listen, it's been great to have you. And of course, if you want to catch more of Fon's, heavy opinions, you can catch him every week with Dealer on RDX, which is the Real Deal Xbox podcast. And I suggest you should you check that out.
Yeah, that's RDX has been really, really awesome, man. Really fun. Dealer, you know how he is. He runs a tight ship.
Yes, he does.
Funny, sarcastic, and everything else. Good dude, though, man. Those guys are all seriously, we're all really close friends, man. We talk all the time.
Well, listen, it was great to have you on tonight, dude. It was an absolute pleasure to work with you again. And like I said, of course, you will be back. Cybernox, you've been very busy in the community, even though you have your very busy family life. Love what you do on Twitter, but also really enjoy what you do on your YouTube channel. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Appreciate that, Boom. It was great being here today. I love coming in on Monday, starting the week off right, talking games with all you guys. Fonz, man, it was an awesome podcast. First time podcasting with you. Chat, you guys are forever. You guys are always awesome. Always, talking some crazy nonsense on the chat. I love it. You guys can find me, Cybernox everywhere on Twitter, on YouTube. I've also, I think I mentioned this here before, my second channel, the Xbox Game Pass Club, where we pick games at random, discuss them as a community, play them together, similar to a book club. So yeah, check them out. Cybernox on Twitter, that's where I'm most active. So yeah, can't wait to be here next week. Boom.
Oh, well, great to have you as always, and look forward to the next week's show. Of course, Tempest Sun, really appreciate your what you bring to each show. It's why I was glad to have you aboard when I was first putting this panel together. Do me a favor, tell everyone where they could follow you on Twitter, and also maybe hook up and team up with you on Xbox Live.
On Twitter, I am at the Tempest Sun. On Xbox Live, I am Tempest Sun. Great to be on the show as always. I love being on the show with Fonz. Fonda, I watch all your videos. I can't wait till they come out. I have been missing them, but now I know why. Change of work schedule. But yeah, I love the way that you make the videos, the vibe, the jazzy music, all that stuff. I dig that stuff a lot. So I love your videos. But I'm glad we got Clowns back. I know he had to leave already, but it was really good to have him back. He is such a nice guy. If you're not following him on Twitter, please do that. He's a very genuinely nice person.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Yes, absolutely.
I'm glad he got to come back, so that's cool. The rest of you guys, I love you guys. This is becoming like a little second home on Monday nights. I love it. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, man, it's a good time to be a gamer. A lot of exciting stuff. So,
man, by the way, I appreciate the love, man. Seriously though, thank you for being that one guy that watches my videos.
I watch them too, Fawn. Stop it. Well, listen, it's great to have you a part of this panel, and I definitely appreciate you being here, especially considering the fact that you pulled your back prior to going live. Hopefully, you get better soon. See, folks, he's a real professional. He's pulled his back, and he's still here talking games, and you would never know. And last but not least, because Clowns had to go, is my very good friend, someone I really respect and look up to, is of course Gaming Forte. Dude, you have these videos you put out there of you walking around your store talking about positivity, trying to get the internet hate to kind of just cool its jets. But also, I really enjoy what you bring to your other shows that you're on, as well as your own channel. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate that as always. And before I say that, I want to heap more praise on the grounded gamer, Mr. Fonzarelli. Been knowing this man for a while, and on different shows, just hang out with him in chats and stuff like that. The man,
we played games together. We played
games together, man. That I love this man. That man is got one of the best voices for this type of medium that we have, and I really appreciate the man for doing everything that he does in the community. But other than that, man, you can meet me over at Gaming Forte on YouTube and on Twitter. And man, just waiting for these new systems to come out. And there was another great show. Boom, as always, Mr. Oprah Winfrey of podcast.
Well, listen, you know what? We got to make it interesting. We got, we had 170, almost 180 people watching live. So I want to say thank you to the chat. You guys and gals are amazing. And the fact that you tune in each and every week is really, it's heartwarming for me personally as a content creator, because YouTube is vast and it's packed with talent. And I'm glad that I bring something different with each of my shows. And of course, I have to thank the generosity with the super chats. I mean, my goodness, folks, you have really outdone yourself, just on tonight's show, but just all of 2019. Has the generosity from this community cannot be ignored. And I have to say a big thank you for that. But again, I don't want to hold anyone up. We are 2 hours and 15 minutes into this amazing show. All I ask is that on your way out, you hit the like button. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor, share this video or this podcast on social media so others could enjoy it as well. Have a great night. And I have one more show that I'm doing. The Xbox Factor podcast will not be going live on Thursdays. Obviously, it's going to be Thanksgiving here in the States, but we will be doing a live show the same time, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this Wednesday afternoon, so everyone could get their Xbox game on right before Turkey Day. But I want to wish everyone a great night. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. Treat others how you want to be treated. And guess what, folks? It doesn't cost anything to be nice. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming. Take care, everyone.
And Stadia sucks.
Later, everybody.